run our workflow. So this is gonna get our list of leads, our name, LinkedIn profile, our website URL. It's gonna scrape our website. It's gonna translate that website into a digestible bit using AI. Request the LinkedIn data, get a scrape from the LinkedIn profile of the user. Finally, use all the information gathered here to update the sheet and create personalized icebreaker lines and subject lines for the person. And that's for more than 1,000 leads. We can just run this indefinitely.
If you're doing cold outreach, cold emails, cold DMs, you want to have introduction lines that are personalized, that are unique, but you also don't want to spend each day hours on end researching your clients. This automation is going to help you with that, provide you personalized icebreakers for each of your clients, and without you having to do any extra work.
So this is the workflow in question, and this is how it goes. It takes the list of leads, which has a name, website URL, and LinkedIn URL of the potential prospects. It's going to filter out the ones that already have a personalization ready. Going to loop over each and every one of those items, scrape their websites, organization websites, create a summaries for those websites. Use tools like Apify or RapidAPI. I'm going to show you how to use those to scrape their LinkedIn profiles as well. And then finally, create a personalized icebreaker and subject line for these leads, and then add that to the list, and thus creating a personalized subject or intro line to every single one of your leads. We're going to make this from scratch, and also with some improvements, because this is a bit of an older version I made here. I'm going to show you how to make it even better. So we're going to start with a Google Sheets note and choose Get Rows in Sheet. If you want a tutorial on how to create a connection, link up or below, I don't know, but you have a link available on my channel, which is sort of how to make those Google connections. We're going to choose a file here, which I created before, and then we're going to choose this sheet as well. This is how the file will look. Basically just a lead list I got from Apollo Scraper. There's a bunch of Apify. You can search up a bunch of scrapers for Apollo and different kind of lead generation sites, which can provide you with a bunch of leads. And this is how it usually looks. At the end of it, you have your name, website URL, organization URL for the LinkedIn, and also LinkedIn profile URL for the person, emails, everything you want to need in a lead list. So I'm going to add a few more columns here. Actually, we'll need this. I'm going to delete this. Basically, we're going to have our website description, our profile data, and subject and icebreaker. These are the ones you really need, but I also always like to add these just so they're in the sheet. So later when I'm troubleshooting, when I'm trying to upgrade or adjust the prompt for the AI assistant that's going to make our subject and icebreakers, I want to know what kind of information it's working on off of. So I'm going to add these as well. So once this is set, we're going to test the execute step. It should just produce a list of all our inputs here, like so. And we have 1,400 items. You can also add a filter here, but for my purpose, I found that a better suitable option is to just have a if node here that simply takes the value. Let's change the schema just so it's more easily understandable. And let's say we just want the icebreaker line to exist string, and we want it to exist, or it is not empty, I guess. Then execute step. Should produce 1,400 outputs, I guess. Okay, I guess it is empty. Makes sense. It needs to be empty, my bad. So here we go. Output 1,400. So that's what we want right now. And then we're gonna add a loop node here. This is so that it takes all those 1,400 items and loops them in a batch size of 1, because we want to have that personalized intro for each and every one of those leads. So once again, let's run this so it's executed. And here we go. That's the loop. So here we can also add a done notification. I'm not going to do that basically because I found it a bit useless for me. But basically all you need to do is just add a notification node, Telegram, Slack, WhatsApp, whatever you want to use, or email even. That's even more simple. And just add that connection here. Get a chat, well, it needs to be a message, whatever. But imagine it's a message, send a chat message, and also make sure if you use this to have a limit node in between, so it only outputs one message. Otherwise, once it's gonna send the complete message, it's gonna send it for every single one of the items in the loop. So 1,400 in this case, you don't want that. So just FYI. But for my purposes, I don't really need it because I usually just let it run in the background. If it fails, I already see it there for a day. You know, you run it for a few hours, it gets you a few thousand leads and you're a happy camper. Let's move on to the next node. We have a HTTP request node. This is going to be very simple. We're just going to call on the website from the client. So if we're looking at the loop node here, we can find the website organization domain is one, but I think there's a organization website URL. No, that's a LinkedIn URL, my bad. This is the organization website URL. We're just gonna plop that in here. And what this is gonna do is just gonna extract the HTML code of the website from the person. This costs nothing. API N8N has this function integrated. So here it is, and it produces the output of HTML. Basically, if we see the website, should be, yeah, this is the data. You can see it's very complicated, a bit excessive maybe. That's why we don't want to feed this into the our AI agent right away, because they're just going to eat up our tokens. They're just going to be costly. So we're going to add a markdown thing in between HTML to markdown. The HTML in question will be this data. Once again, execute step. Firstly, it will execute every single time from the beginning. Just how this this thing goes, because the looped items node kind of messes up. You can't really pin anything as well. But here's the output. It's gonna load in, and then this is way more manageable, right? Way less text, and all you need is all the text, all the headlines is here. So if your goal is just to understand what's in the website, this works just fine. So now this is the part we're gonna make upgrades. Here in my original workflow, I made a message a model option where I just simply have a system prompt and the user prompt. Here we're gonna use the AI agent option from N8N, simply because we can future-proof this a bit more. We're going to define it below instead of using the chat trigger function. And then the prompt is going to be message user. Here's the website data. And we're going to plop in from the markdown node. Here we go. One thing we need to add is, so the AI knows what to do, a system message. Here we can add a system message. And the way I create my system prompts is simple. I go to just my regular ChatGPT, and I have this GPT I found. And that's not mine. Neural Love made it. Really good system prompt generator. And you can use this to create prompts that actually function way more better than anything else. For example, I can say, for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna plop in the one I used here. You are helpful, you will be text from website. Okay. I need to create a website scraping assistant. So basically I'm going to tell it, hey, I need a website scraping assistant. It will be giving a website scraping, and it needs a summary of 3 points, something like that. What's this prompt generator will do? It will create a prompt that's way more structured and made specifically for creating high-level AI agents. This is how it looks. Basic system prompt structure always follows the same rules. First is just the system prompt, like what are you? Then what I'm expected to do, the expected output format, instructions, chain of thought, what not to do, and a few examples. So here's the system prompt. All we're going to do is just copy that, go back, system, Here we're gonna have an expression just so it's easier to follow. Wait, I'm in the wrong one. AI agent. Here, I'm gonna add the system message here. Once again, expression. You can also pop this out using this, and then you can read through it. Looks good. So once that's ready, last thing I want to have is a require specific output format, because I don't want it to just output anything. I want it to have a specific output structure. So I went back to our system prompt generator and asked it to have a specific JSON element called the website data. Probably worded a bit weird, but this is the output I gave. You can go back and we can go to output parser, structured output parser, and we're gonna add this and our element. It copied everything. One sec. Let's go back. We just want to copy this. Copy. Let's go back and yeah. So this is the output we actually want, right? Website data, simple JSON situation. Also in the, I'm gonna make sure to add. Right. So it knows what to do. Also add that. Make sure to add that into here, output here. Like this, and it should produce just fine. And if it fails, also have to sales always output data first of all, and retry and fail 3 times. So if it fails on the output here, last thing we have to add is the chat model. Here I'm just gonna use OpenAI, but a good suggestion if you want to keep things local is to use a Ollama. It's not here. Here, Ollama chat model. That's a option where you can create locally hosted chats. So basically using Ollama, you can host LLM models locally. If you host them locally, they're all of a sudden GDPR safe, because, well, technically, even though OpenAI is a different company, so if you're a company and you're managing data, this is gonna be a GDPR situation. So check out Ollama. I'm gonna probably make a video on this in the future as well, but right now, just for simplicity, let's use OpenAI. So here, I'm going to show you also how to create a credential. When you create a OpenAI credential, you create a new credential, you have an API key. So making a API key for OpenAI is simple. You go to this website, platform.openai.com. It will need you to log into your OpenAI account. If you already use it for a simple ChatGPT, use the same one, works. It's going to be a completely separate instance though. If you already have a billing situation in your personal OpenAI account, like when you use ChatGPT, this is going to be different aspect. But yeah, you're going to basically have this new developers platform here. You're going to go to the left hand side and there's going to be this dashboard here. Going to go down, API keys, and here you create new keys. So for example, I'm going to delete this YouTube because I to create before, don't need anymore. So yeah, for example, test key name, you can say again YouTube. Full project, all, you can choose which project you want to have. You can separate it, and this is going to be API. Don't share this, don't show this to anyone. But basically, here you can add the key. And once you have it saved, it's going to create a credential. Boom, that's ready. You have your connection ready. So one thing I still want to add about OpenAI, obviously you need to use money to use OpenAI API, but unless you use Ollama and have this locally. But if you're running into issues, remember that you also need to add your billing information in the settings. Here you can go down, find billing, and add your payment methods, and also add a credit balance. It doesn't cost much at all. For this whole time, I've paid maybe like $40. For years, you can go with like sub $100. It's really cheap. But basically, you create your credential. Once they're ready, you choose the model you want to message. For this, probably mini is fine. 4.1 mini. Let's just go 4.0 mini. Although 4.1 mini is fine, probably. This isn't really a big task, but yeah, we have our model, we have our output parser. Let's see how it produces. Maybe we need to tweak the prompt just a bit. my work though? Okay, it looks like it worked fine. It had an output. Yep, here it is. So it's the website data, and it is the description, and then we have our key value propositions. So here it is. It works just fine. So our next step is to use RapidAPI or Apify or similar to scrape our LinkedIn profiles. So here we're gonna have another HTTP request. And now I'm going to explain how these API services work. So basically, both RapidAPI, I'm going to use RapidAPI for today, work in a similar way. You create your account, register. It's simple, really. You can go log in through Google account. I'm not going to make that from scratch, but you search for the bot you want to use, for example, LinkedIn. So how these services work, like RapidAPI or Apify, you can search up different bots or different scrapers you want to use. For my example, let's say LinkedIn, search for options. And then we have all these different bots and scrapers we can use to get various data or social or jobs or anything, right? So in this case, I'm looking for one that provides me a profile data from URL. I already see that we have a get company by URL thing. So what you're going to look for is on the left side, you have different options for calls, right? You can get, so in this case, that's get company by URL, get company by domain. You can see all the different parameters you need to use in order to use this service. So for example, parameters here is a domain. We need a domain to get company by domain. By URL, we can see that we can get a company. The parameter we need is a LinkedIn company URL, which we actually have, so we can use this. There's other get profiles posts, for examples. Probably needs a username though, right? I'm not sure we have it. Oh, now we have a LinkedIn URL, so that's nice. Type posts, yeah, so we can get like get profiles posts, comments, redirections, and all that. Let's see what else we can use. Company search, job search, whatever. Other endpoints. Oh, there's a lot here. So yeah, you basically just find the information you want to use in your workflow and get personal profile, for example. I'm interested if it's the parameters. Oh, just so many. LinkedIn URL, that's nice. That's the only one you actually need. So we could use this to scrape our LinkedIn URL. Let's try this. So the first thing we're gonna do is go up and subscribe to test. Yeah, that's the first thing you want to do. There's the options for subscribing. Obviously, credits and per month. Hard limit is a 100 per month, but that's fine for our case. Obviously, if you're scraping more than that, use this. That's like $45 a month, but you're gonna pay something either way, right? From my experience, once you actually use these services, they offer different deals than when they show you here. And Apollo and Apify, in some cases, can be even cheaper. So yeah. Anyways, this is not for free, but that's the deal. So what we have here are different parameters, apps, headers. So what we're gonna do is go to app, and we have this curl client. We can just copy this. What we're looking at here is the request get, and then it's gonna have all the parameters and all the setup already here. So all we need to do is really just copy the QC URL here, and if we go back and import CRL, I had something like this in the past, I guess. Import, and boom, we had everything set up. This is the call URL it's going to use. This is the fields we need to define, and the one that's actually required is this profile URL, and we're going to use that. So if we go back, there's actually supposed to be some schema points here. It's not here, but that's probably just a UI glitch from NA10. This is going to be a cool use case. If something like this happens, you can always just toggle through different options here. For example, under JSON, if we go to the looped over items we want to use, yeah, we can actually find all the information we want. And in this case, we're looking for LinkedIn URL here, right? So wait, first let's just delete this. And here we go, LinkedIn URL. And then once we have this parameter, let's test this step. Here we go. So yeah, now we have the about from the person, company, company description, we have all the information from his profile. Quite a lot, actually. Quite a lot. And we can all use any of this to create those personalized messages. So in this case, about, we have a, working with luxury, cool. We're just going to use the about section in this case. Let's move on. Next step, you like to add the things we scraped before I add the personalization. It just makes me feel better, but honestly, it's not necessary. You can also add everything in the very end together, right? So you can add, like in this node, adds the personalization in the subject, but you can add everything in this one node. If we're looking back, we have these 4 columns. I'm going to use a node to add these 2, and then I'm going to add these 2 separately later. It's not strictly necessary. I just like making it this way. So yeah, and then let's go to node. Let's choose the same sheet. Let's see. Now this part, we're gonna map each column manually, and we're gonna column to match on. So we're gonna find the row number we want to use. This is gonna be used to match the listing we want. So at the very beginning, we're looping over a specific item. We want the looped item to be the same one we're gonna edit, right? So if we look back at the schema, for some reason this looped item node isn't showing correctly, but that's fine, that's just a glitch. If we go over to looped items under JSON, then find the one we want, which is the very one, the first one, row number. So here row number is going to be using to match, and it's going to use that to match the person. Then we're going to go down, and we have this website description and profile data here. So once again, we can find the respective nodes. I should rename this for simplicity's sake, but my bad. This is not the one we want. We want this AI agent output, which is the website data. We're going to add that here. And then we want this HTTP request, which is going to be the one we're going to add here. Case in point, I haven't changed these. This is bad development from my end because you gotta name the names different. That's how he recognizes which one you want to call upon. But here we're gonna use the about section on the profile data, like that. Okay, that's cool. Now that is done, and now we're gonna do the same thing we did with this AI agent and create a AI agent for personalization. So once again, we create a AI agent. We use the define below prompt, and the input will be, we're gonna figure that out in a minute, add option system message. So once again, we're gonna go back to our ChatGPT node here, ask a new one. We want a fresh start. Yeah. So it's a fresh start. I'm gonna have a thing I prepared here, but before already done. So create an AI agent that generates personalized icebreakers. The agent will be giving a name, company name. Let's do like this: company name, website description. A lot of typos. That's my bad, but an organization, LinkedIn description, just a LinkedIn description. LinkedIn about. It needs to output subject and icebreaker. That's fine. Also needs to take in context about the user. If I give it context about me, it's gonna give out way better results, way more personalized, way more interesting stuff. For example, if in the profile it says like, hey, I'm interested in, I had an e-commerce store before. It's like, oh cool, I've been doing e-commerce for this and many years, right? So if you give it different like context about you, about what you like and what you've done, what you've studied and everything else, it's gonna give out way better responses. For example, hey, I studied in that school as well. All right, only way AI can do that is if he has this information. Also, you want to add a make sure the agent doesn't lie about any information when just so it takes reference of this, but also doesn't lie, because sometimes it's gonna make up stuff just to please you. That's how they do. So yeah, it's gonna take a minute to set up, and it's ready. never mind. So this is once again the same structure. You're gonna have your initial prompt, your input fields, then it's gonna say, hey, what I'm expecting of you from your input. Output format, hate it when it does this. Sometimes for some reason it puts something in Markdown, which is really nice to copy down, and then it just stops doing that. It's kind of annoying, but happens. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Works fine. Let's copy everything. I'm interested if I can just copy everything like this. Probably not though, right? Let's try. So once again, we're gonna use the system prompt, change to expression, pop this out just so it's easier to manage. Yeah, worked fine. Honestly, I'm not gonna change anything here. I really don't care this much. This is just a demo, but honestly, you go through this prompt, check out any details that are off. Yeah, for example, I don't like this. We're gonna fix that right away. This is actually important, but yeah, you want this output format to be the same every time. JSON, copy, edit. Yeah, you're gonna remove this as well. And then we're also gonna copy a output example like this to add to our required specific output format. Here we're gonna have a structured output parser. Once again, add the specific format we want, which is a subject and icebreaker. Once again, we go to our settings on retry and fail with at least 3 times and always output data. Just so if it fails, it just tries again. Sometimes it just needs that. And then we're going to prompt system user. We're gonna go back to our prompt and see what the exact input it is gonna be waiting for, which is gonna be here. Input like this. Copy that, go back, prompt message, boom. So here, for some reason, this did update, sure. We're gonna run this just so it's done. Here's the last node. Updated, sure. Here's done. You can see that I added the website description and profile data, which is cool. And then we're gonna go back to this AI agent. Let's again change the expression. When you change the expression, you actually change stuff here. For name, we're gonna go to our loop over items, first name. There's probably a move. Oh yeah, there's name. We use name, company name, here it is. No, that's city. Organization name works. Website description. Yeah, then to this we're gonna add the AI agent here, website data, right? Website description. And then LinkedIn description finally is gonna be the one from our HTTP request one node, which is gonna be the about section from that. And user context. Well, it kind of did this. Let's see how it managed that. Yeah, let's just remove that. I think. Yeah, remove this from the examples as well, just so it doesn't get confused. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's remove this. And this is also not there. So yeah, this is going to be the input. And then let's test it out. And it should produce subject line and an icebreaker line. And it should have a structured output like icebreaker and subject, like we already showed it to use. Oh, we didn't use a chat panel, my bad. OpenAI, same thing as before. This time we're gonna not use the mini one. It sucks usually. Let's use a 4.0 model. I think, if I remember correctly, that's a good one. It works. But honestly, you just play around with these. Change the ones you like. If you're using a llama with the locally hosted, obviously, just experiment. Realize which model works best, because it really depends on way different different. Okay, let's try this again then. And it's a bit, usually when you're doing these testings, you can also pin different results. But if you're using a loop function, it doesn't really work like that. It makes it so, because of the loop, it needs to do it every time. So it's kind of annoying, but it is like that. So here it's gonna create the output. It's gonna also check with the parser if it's correct, which is cool. And if it's correct, it's gonna output the data. Should be the subject and the icebreaker. That's what we want. So here in my example workflow, I have this little piece of code that's gonna use our it's gonna convert this output from this assistant to our usable JSON. But because we're upgrading this using this structured output parser, we don't really need this. So we can just straight jump into sheet and just update a row or sheet. Same thing as before. We're gonna choose our test row, leads test, and we're gonna map each column by the last one, row number. This is gonna be from this row number 2, and then if we go all the way down, the icebreaker and subject, AI agent, not the one, AI agent 1. Once again, I really should have changed the names. That's really my bad. But this is the subject, this is the icebreaker, and then we're done. So this is all it needs to do. I'm gonna delete this. So what else you can do is have this little wait node here. I basically use this because if it runs multiple times in succession, these HTTP calls, or maybe sometimes even these Google Sheet calls, sometimes fail simply because of the repeated API calls. So that's why if that happens, just add a little wait node. I added this for like 10 seconds, just so it does. But basically this last node does everything else and adds finally our last two. It's gonna add a subject icebreaker. I seem to have deleted something. Oh, let's see what it does. Seem to have native. Okay, now we have this now. And it does, and added this one, right? Yeah. And we have a seamless luxury branding insights. And then we have this Matthew, your journey with Tranquil Bio luxury brands detail. See, very personalized, very specific. Yeah, a bit too long for my taste. But the idea is that what we made here is really just, the first thing that this guy spat out. How to later troubleshoot this? You take the inputs, you see the inputs it uses, you see the results it gets. You want to have this bit more interesting. You want to have this bit more shorter, and you adjust. You then go back to this little boy, that creates your prompt, and say, okay, we need to adjust this prompt a bit. We need to make it shorter. We need to make it longer. Make the output longer, make the output shorter. And tweak it until it's perfect. But right now, just this is a proof of concept. What we're gonna do now is finally just run our workflow. So this is gonna get our list of leads, our name, LinkedIn profile, our website URL. It's gonna scrape our website. It's gonna translate that website into a digestible bit using AI. Request the LinkedIn data, get a scrape from the LinkedIn profile of the user. Finally, use all the information gathered here to update the sheet and create personalized icebreaker lines and subject lines for the person. And that's for more than 1,000 leads. We can just run this indefinitely. Basically, the only cost in this whole workflow is this LinkedIn scraper. Like we used before, it's like $40 a month. You can try and check out Apify as a alternative, maybe find something cheaper. But the idea is that you can run this in the background and personalize 1,000 or so leads under an hour or so, and be a happy camper, and just use that, plop that into a email marketing tool, and have all your subjects and personalized icebreakers. Okay, something about that. Really cool. Thank you for sticking around. Bye-bye.